Hey, hey guys, what is up? It is June 10th, 2012, Gaming and Gear here, and I'm going to do a video today, a very interesting video, I'm going to compare some low-end PC gaming rigs from vendors. I'm comparing them from Alienware, Digital Storm, and iBuyPower, and then I'm going to compare their high-end ones. So $1,500 price point, around there is what I'm doing, and for this it's around the $800 price point. Not 700, 800, my bad. So first, I'm just going to go over, some people do like pre-built builds, and that's totally fine. You do get more value if you just build your own, but I understand some people just wanting to buy it and work. And so this is a video to help you make a buying decision on which one of these you would want to get based on what you're going to do with the machine and how much you want to upgrade. So first off, I'm going to go over all the specs and then go over the pros and cons of each rig. So here, first off, we have the Alienware. I configured some of these I had to configure up to the $800 price point. I did $800 because that was the cheapest Digital Storm. Alienware, we have a X51. It's got the Core i3, for the CPU it's got a Core i3 2120, which is 3.1 gigahertz, dual core with hyperthreading. Pretty good CPU. It offers a few more frames per second than AMD quad cores, the FX 4100, but the FX processors are faster than regular stuff, I've seen. The motherboard is a custom Alienware H61 based, so H61 cannot do SSDs, so that's kind of something you might want to factor in. It's also the H series, so it's the lowest end, doesn't have features, it can't overclock, you can't use SSD caching, unless you buy one that has the software built in, but it's a lot easier to use what Intel uses. So RAM, I bumped it up to 6 gigs, just, because we had the money to. So it's 6 gigabyte at 1333 megahertz. For the GPU, we have a 1 gigabyte NVIDIA GT 545. This is basically like a light GTX 550. So it's dropped from the GTX 550 specs, but it's not like 520 awful. But it's okay. We have a 230 watt power supply because this is the lower end version. They can go up to 330 watt bricks, but that's for the next step up if you get the GTX 555. Hard drive, we have a 1 terabyte, 72,000 RPM hard drive with 32 megs of cache. Pretty fast hard drive. All of these come with DVD drives, so I'm not going to mention this for the rest of them. And all of them come with Windows 7 Home Premium 64-bit. And this would end up costing $749.99. For the Digital Storm, we have a FX. For the CPU is a FX 4100. This is a fine CPU for gaming and for general use. The more you overclock it, which it can overclock, the more it will get more performance. Also, for comparison reasons, all of these have that had liquid cooling have been subtracted the liquid cooling. So, just to let you guys know. There's an option for that for Digital Storm and iBuyPower. For the motherboard, we have a ASUS M5A97. This is a great motherboard from ASUS. It uses the 970 chipset, so you can crossfire. It might have a bridge. It might not have an extra X16 slot, but you could always crossfire if you wanted. But the video card, which is a Radeon 7750, does not technically support. You can run it through the 2 lanes, but it won't be able to have the bridge, so it'll have like 25% boost. Not that much. The video card is the fastest. It's the newest of the bunch. I wouldn't say the fastest. So it'll have, as drivers come out, as new drivers roll out, it'll just get faster and faster. We have 8 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance 1600 megahertz. This is the most RAM of all of these computers, and it is the fastest RAM. It's tied for the fastest. So, great, I have this RAM. Works fantastic. Power supply, we have a 600 watt Corsair Gamer Series. The Gamer Series line is fine. The only difference is it has a blue LED fan, or red, which I don't really care about, but 600 watts is more than enough for this rig. you'd be able to, drop a new video card in there later with that kind of power supply, You probably, if you wanted to just immediately out of the gate upgrade it, you could probably run up to like a 7870 off that thing, maybe even a 7950. We have a 500 gig, 7200 RPM hard drive with 16 megs of cache. Fast enough. I have a similarly configured hard drive in mind that loads games very fast. And also, this is the Digital Storm Marauder, is the name of the PC. So for iBuyPower, we have the CPU is a FX 4100, same CPU as Digital Storm, so I already mentioned that. Motherboard, we have an ASUS M5188M. It's a smaller motherboard, so you got that into account. Less expandability. For RAM, we have 4 gigs of DDR3 1600 MHz Corsair, so less than the Alienware but faster. So if you're not running too many programs, that'll do better than the Alienware, but if you run like a billion programs at once, the Alienware will do better. For power, it's interesting. Okay, so we have a 700 watt quote-unquote standard power supply, which I'm not too comfortable just having like a power supply that's not a name brand. They just say it's standard. Like, they don't mention anything, they don't have a footnote like, oh, standards from this and this company, so I'm kinda irked about that. GPU, we have a Radeon 6850, so this is faster in some areas than the 7750, so it'll do great with most games today. And it has a similar hard drive to the X51. It has a 1TB, 32 megs of cache, 7200 RPM drive. And this is called the LAN Warrior 2, is the name of the iBuyPower. Right. Oh yeah, and that one ends up being $795.99. And the Digital Storm one was $800. Forgot to mention that, sorry. Let me see what else I have to do here. Okay, so let's compare the pros and the cons. Alienware. The pros for that, it's the smallest by far of all of these. It is the cheapest at its base configuration. It is $700 as opposed to the Digital Storm, which starts at $800, and the iBuyPower, which starts at I think $750, maybe less. They have weird pricing with theirs. Has a big hard drive. Cons are it's very limited upgradability. It has the worst graphics. Core i3s are slower in day-to-day tasks than 4100s, so a little bit of a trade-off there. Digital Storm, the pros, uses all name brand components with long stress testing, which I love. So it would just feel like you could look and you could see, oh, I know the company that this is from, and it is a good company, and I know this computer has been tested, so its components are good and solid. Has the most RAM, and it's tied for the fastest. The Radeon 7750 is a new GPU and will only get better as its drivers do. It'll do better in newer games because of DirectX 11.1 support. As a bigger case with most upgradability. The cons, it's the most expensive at its base configuration, unlike the others. The iBuyPower, the pros, it's a smaller form factor and still upgradable to some point. It uses mostly name brand parts. It has a nice fast hard drive, has the fastest graphics card at the time of writing of the bunch. Uses standard power supply, which I already mentioned, a little shady. I'm not too comfortable about that. So my recommendation for buying this, if you really want just a standard solid desktop for $800, might have to go off to Digital Storm. They use name brand components, it's cheap, the 7750 is fast enough, it can play Battlefield low 1080p and get 60 frames per second, which low still looks amazing on that. So I have to go off to them. If you want, the reason I didn't upgrade for the iBuyPower to the Corsair one of 700 watts, because you could do that, is that costs $117 more. That's not worth it. That's not worth it for comparison reasons. If you're buying the iBuyPower, I would recommend doing that. But my hat would go off the Digital Storm. Alienware, if you just want a small home theater PC for gaming too, that would be good for that. iBuyPower I could see as more of a LAN rig, because you could still upgrade it to a point, and you could take it to LAN parties. So, for an overall great desktop rig, Digital Storm has one. So, that's it. Remember to rate, favorite, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, tweet, run around shirtless screaming how great this video is. Just do whatever. Bye.